Welcome to Fairy Tales 1. I'm so glad you're here.
Hello, little explorers of wonder, are you tucked in cozy and ready? The adventure I have for you today is called Pip and the Whispering Willow. Pip was a boy who never quite seemed to be in one place for very long. Not because he was mischievous or restless. Oh no, Pip had a very special, very peculiar kind of presence. He'd be in the sunny meadow giggling with the butterflies, and then in the blink of an eye, he'd be beside the babbling brook, carefully guiding a fallen leaf downstream. One moment he was perched on the highest branch of the old oak tree, sharing secrets with the rustling leaves, and the next he was down in the cool, damp earth, observing a busy line of ants marching with determined purpose. His mum would call for him at breakfast, and she might find him in the garden helping a shy ladybug find its way back to its leaf, or perhaps in the attic tracing the patterns of dust motes dancing in a sunbeam. He wasn't hiding and he wasn't lost. He was simply everywhere. Or perhaps nowhere in particular. It was as if Pip could stretch himself thin as a whisper to be wherever something needed his gentle attention, his curious gaze, or his quiet presence. This made things a little tricky for his parents, who often found themselves calling, "Pip, where are you?" into an empty room, only to hear his cheerful reply from the garden shed, or sometimes it seemed from the very air around them. Pip himself didn't quite understand it. He'd be playing with a dandelion puff, watching it disintegrate into 100 tiny seeds carried by the breeze, and he'd feel a peculiar tug, a gentle nudge urging him towards the forgotten corner of the attic where a lost button lay. He didn't teleport, not really. It was more like he could be where the need was without the usual effort of walking or running. His feet might still be on the meadow grass, but his eyes would be seeing the world from the perspective of a dewdrop clinging to a spider's web, or from the cozy nook of a bird's nest, or even from the silent, patient growth of a seedling pushing through the soil. It was a gentle, effortless ebb and flow. One crisp autumn morning, Pip was helping a very determined earthworm navigate its way around a particularly muddy puddle. He knelt beside it, his small hands cupped protectively around the wriggling creature. The air was alive with the scent of fallen leaves and damp earth. A robin perched on a nearby branch chirped a cheerful greeting. Suddenly, Pip felt that familiar soft tug. It wasn't a strong pull, more like a gentle invitation. He blinked, and though his knees were still on the grass, his attention was now entirely focused on the oldest, most magnificent tree in the entire valley, the Whispering Willow. The Whispering Willow stood by the edge of the shimmering lake, its long, graceful branches sweeping the ground like a verdant curtain. It was a tree of ancient wisdom, its bark gnarled and moss-covered, telling tales of seasons long past. The wind, when it stirred, seemed to whisper secrets through its leaves, secrets that only the most attentive could hear. Pip found himself drawn to its base. He didn't walk there, not in the way one normally does. One moment he was by the puddle, the next he was standing at the foot of the willow, a faint shimmer of golden light surrounding him for just a fleeting instant. The earthworm safely past its puddle, continued its journey, quite unaware of Pip's sudden ethereal displacement. He looked up at the vast expanse of the willow's canopy. The leaves, a tapestry of gold and russet, rustled with a sound like 1,000 tiny sighs. Pip felt a sense of profound peace wash over him. He wasn't just Pip anymore. He was a part of the willow, his own essence mingling with the tree's ancient spirit. He could feel the slow, steady pulse of its life, the deep roots anchoring it to the earth, the sap coursing through its veins. Then he heard it, not with his ears, but with his very being. A gentle melodic whisper woven from the rustling of leaves and the sighing of the wind. "Little one," the whisper seemed to say, "you are the one who can hear." Pip, who was accustomed to hearing many things others missed, the chirps of insects communicating the silent stretch of a growing flower, the tiny creaks of a house settling, wasn't surprised. He simply waited, his heart open. The lake, the willow, whispered its voice like the soft plinking of water droplets. The lake is troubled. A forgotten song lies at its depths, a melody of joy that has been silenced by the stillness. Pip tilted his head. He could feel the lake, a vast, shimmering expanse of cool water. He'd often visited its edge, watching the dragonflies dart and the fish swim in their silent world. He could also feel a certain heaviness, a quiet melancholy that seemed to emanate from its center. A forgotten song. Pip echoed, his voice barely audible. Yes, the willow sighed. A song of pure delight sung by the water sprites long ago when the world was young and laughter echoed everywhere. It was a song that kept the lake vibrant and full of light. But as time passed and the world grew, louder the song was forgotten. The sprites, their hearts heavy, drifted away and the melody faded. Pip pondered this. He imagined tiny sprites with wings like gossamer singing with joy. He felt a pang of sadness for their lost melody. How can I find it? Pip asked. The willow's branches swayed gently as if in thought. You little one are a bridge. You can be where the need is. The song, it resides in the heart of the lake, held captive by the quiet. You must go to the lake's heart, and you must remember the song. Remember its lightness, its joy. Pip understood. He would have to go to the deepest part of the lake, but he didn't know how to swim that far or how to breathe underwater. He looked at his hands, at his small feet. He was Pip after all. But I can't breathe underwater, he said softly. The willow's leaves rustled a knowing melody. You are the boy who is everywhere and nowhere, little Pip. Where the need is, you can be. You do not need to swim. You need only to be there. Pip took a deep breath, the scent of autumn filling his lungs. He closed his eyes, picturing the lake's deepest, quietest spot. He imagined the silence, the cool darkness, the gentle sway of the water. He focused on the feeling of the forgotten song, the lightness, the joy. He felt that familiar, gentle tug, but this time it was different. It wasn't just a displacement, it was a transformation. He felt himself stretch, thinning, becoming one with the water. His solid form dissolved not into nothingness, but into the very essence of the lake. He was the cool current, the gentle ripple, the silent descent. He wasn't breathing air, but he wasn't suffocating either. He was simply existing in the watery heart of the lake. The darkness wasn't frightening. It was a deep, velvety quiet punctuated by the soft, rhythmic pulse of the earth. Here at the bottom, the water felt ancient and wise. Pip, or rather the pipescence that was now diffused through the water, felt the silence pressing in. It was a silence born of forgetting, a heavy blanket muffling any spark of joy. He searched not with eyes, but with a deep, intuitive sense. He felt for the echo of a melody, the ghost of a laughter. And then he found it. It wasn't a sound, not yet. It was a feeling, a faint vibration, a memory imprinted on the very water molecules. It was the memory of a song. Pip focused his entire being on this faint echo. He remembered the willow's words. Remember its lightness, its joy. He thought of the dandelion seeds dancing in the wind, the robin's cheerful song, the playful chase of a butterfly. He thought of his own laughter, bright and clear. He gathered these feelings, these moments of pure, unadulterated joy, and he focused them like a beam of moonlight onto the faint vibration. Slowly, tentatively, the vibration began to grow. A soft, shimmering light like captured starlight flickered into existence around the point where Pip was focusing his attention. It was the nascent spark of the forgotten song. Pip poured more of his gentle presence into it. He imagined the water sprites, their faces alight with happiness, their voices lifted in song. He imagined the lake teeming with vibrant life, the sunlight dancing on its surface. He felt the joy bubble up within him, and he released it, a silent offering to the depths. The shimmering light intensified, growing stronger, clearer. A faint, ethereal melody began to weave its way through the watery silence. It was a melody of pure, unadulterated happiness, a sound that resonated with the very core of Pip's being. It was light, it was playful, it was utterly joyful. The melody grew louder, more confident. It wasn't just Pip's contribution anymore. It was the song itself awakening from its long slumber. The light expanded, pushing back the darkness, filling the watery depths with a radiant glow. Pip felt the lake respond, its heavy melancholy lifting, replaced by a gentle buoyancy. He could feel the water sprites drawn by the returning melody beginning to gather. Tiny luminous forms, their wings like spun moonlight, emerged from the shadows. They danced in the radiant light, their forms swirling and twirling to the joyous music. And then they began to sing. Their voices, like the tinkling of tiny bells, joined the melody, harmonizing with Pip's pure, unspoken joy. The song filled the lake, resonating through its depths up to its surface and out into the surrounding valley. The water shimmered with a renewed vibrancy, its colors deepening, its currents dancing with delight. Pip, still diffused through the lake, felt a profound sense of contentment. He had helped the song return, and in doing so, he had helped the lake remember its own joy. He felt the water sprites, gratitude, a warm, happy energy that flowed through him, through the water, through the entire lake. As the song reached its crescendo, a bright golden light bloomed at the center of the lake, mirroring the light he had seen when he first arrived at the willow. Pip felt himself being gently drawn back, the essence of the lake, receding, the watery stillness, giving way to the familiar feel of solid ground. He blinked. He was back at the base of the whispering willow, the autumn sun warming his face. The lake, now sparkling and alive, stretched out before him, its surface rippled with a vibrant energy. The willow's leaves rustled with a sound that was no longer a sigh, but a joyful song of its own. Pip looked up at the willow, a wide smile spreading across his face. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice filled with wonder. The willow's branches dipped in a graceful acknowledgement. "You heard little Pip," its voice whispered, now clear and strong like the gentle flow of water. "You remembered, and you brought the song back." Pip felt a gentle tug, but this time it was a familiar one, the tug of home, of his mum's voice calling him for lunch. He looked at his hands at his feet. He was just Pip again, a small boy standing in the autumn sunlight. But he carried within him the memory of the lake's deepest secrets, the echo of the sprite's joyous song, and the wisdom of the whispering willow. He knew that even though he couldn't always be seen in one spot, he could always be where he was needed, his presence a gentle whisper of hope and joy. He turned and skipped home, the melody of the lake still humming softly in his heart, a secret tune only he and the whispering willow truly knew. And with that, our adventure ends. If Pip's journey to the heart of the lake sparked your imagination, a like would be wonderful, and it helps other little adventurers find our stories too. Subscribing ensures you'll never miss our next tale, and you can even tap the little bell to be notified. Until our next adventure, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and always remember the magic that surrounds you. Goodbye for now.
See you again, and do like, share, and subscribe the channel. Fairy Tale.